This is the best place to get Korean barbecue in all of Korea. Welcome to Jeju. Known as Korea's Hawaii, this is the best place to get Korean barbecue in all of Korea because of a special breed of pig that's raised here. It's called Jeju black pork, and it's considered to be the pork equivalent of A5 Wagyu. I've come here today to see if this pork is worth the hype or not. Once we've had our barbecue, I'm going to be making a Jeju pork grilled cheese to see if this is the secret ingredient I've been looking for to make the world's best grilled cheese sandwich. So Korean barbecue is usually like a table that has some sort of heating element in the middle, then a bunch of these banchan, which are little side dishes that get brought out. You don't order these, and you don't get any control over what comes out. It just shows up. These actually landed on our table before we even ordered anything. And then usually the things you do have control over is what meat you're ordering and what drinks you order. So we didn't order any drinks today. We did order meat, and you usually order it by portion. So they'll have pre-portion sizes. You don't have to know how much meat you need like per person. It'll just be like, we want one person worth of pork belly, one person worth of this. This restaurant specifically, they just have a 2-person combo. So it'll come with 300 grams of pork belly and 200 grams of pork neck, actually, which seems to be a common cut here. One cool thing about a lot of Korean barbecue restaurants is that they will actually have seats that have buckets in them. So you can put your stuff in there so it doesn't get like splattered with oil or smell like cooking charcoal and meat and stuff. It's kind of cool. So once they bring the meat out, they're gonna start cooking it here. Sometimes you'll see restaurants that have like charcoal in the middle. That's what they cook over, and that's what this place is. It's charcoal. Sometimes it's just like a propane burner that they'll have, and it'll be a pan that you can cook right over that. Some places will cook for you. Some places will let you cook. If you look like you have no idea what you're doing, like we usually do, they kind of just usually cook it for you. I think they would do that because they don't want you to mess it up yourself and then complain about the food, which makes sense. If you have no idea what you're doing, you might completely ruin the meat. It's not the restaurant's fault, that's yours. So they want to eliminate that risk factor by cooking it themselves. We'll see how trustworthy we look today. Usually how you eat the Korean barbecue then is they'll cook it all at once, and then they'll move it all kind of to the side, the outside of the burner to keep it warm. Then you eat little pieces of it kind of with all these other things. They'll bring out some lettuce wraps. We can put the meat in there, build just unique little bites, choose your own adventure dinner. It's fun. Relative to the standard meal in Korea, it's usually on the expensive side, but it's not that expensive. Like if you were to go get American barbecue in the US, it's $50, $60 a person usually at least. Here it's about $15 to $20 a person for Korean barbecue. You can obviously go a lot higher than that if you get expensive cuts of meat, but in general that's about twice the cost of an average meal. So you go to a restaurant, you get noodles with maybe a little bit of meat on it, it's probably 10,000 won. If you come to a Korean barbecue, it can be like 15 to 20,000 won. So, 50 to 100% more than a normal meal, but you definitely get a lot more meat. So it feels like a good deal. Alright, we just got our charcoal. It is really hot. One other thing about the banchan that I forgot to mention is that they're all refillable. So if you eat through something, you can get it refilled. You don't have to get them all refilled. You can if you want to just sit here and just eat piles of kimchi, they'll just keep bringing them out. I'm sure there's probably some limit to it, but within reasonableness, you can get refills of everything. So the first thing that we've noticed with the Korean barbecue in Jeju specifically is that they all have this anchovy sauce that they put over the fire and boil before the meat comes out. I didn't notice that in Seoul. They brought the meat out already seared. So in a lot of the cases, they'll bring it out completely raw and you sear it in big pieces. And then once it gets seared on the outside, then you'll cut it into smaller pieces so that you can sear the sides that were not exposed before. So I actually think that's kind of smart in terms of Perfect. You guys caught that, right? So the good thing is I do know what's supposed to happen here, so we're good. Honestly, there's really no way to mess this up as long as you cook the meat. So they've got this ventilation system that will suck the smoke out from the meat, because obviously if you had a bunch of people roasting meat in here, it would get so smoky you wouldn't be able to breathe in the restaurant. But it's kind of funny because it looks like you've got the souls being sucked out of the pieces of meat while they cook.
So, now that you know how this whole Korean barbecue thing works, let's talk about the black pork. This breed of pork is known for having a fattier, darker colored meat, which is supposed to have incredible flavor. I'll be honest with you though, it's good, but it's not drastically different from any other high quality pork. People frequently call this the Wagyu of pork, but I think that there's a much more distinct difference between regular steaks and Wagyu steaks than there is between regular pork and black pork. It is still very delicious though, which is why I want to show you my favorite bite of food from this meal so we can turn it into a grilled cheese sandwich.
So, in my opinion, the best bite we've got so far is these perilla leaves, which have like a minty, herby flavor. If you've had it, you know what I'm talking about, and that I'm probably not describing it well. Then you take the pork belly specifically. I like the pork belly better. Dip it in the anchovy sauce, in the middle of the leaf. Then, we're gonna take some of this, I believe it's called samjang, and it's a combination of gochujang and fermented soybeans. So you get like a little bit of miso and like roasted chili pepper flavor, which is really good. Then it's actually really common to put raw garlic on as well, which seems like it would be like a really aggressive hit of flavor, but it works well. You just gotta trust me on that. These leaves, which you're gonna have to forgive me, I have no idea what this is, but somebody in the comments will. This thing, it tastes kind of like a dill pickle actually. Put that on there as well, and then wrap it all up and straight into the face hole. Cheers. It's so smoky and not excessively fatty either. I think that's because a lot of the fat drips down into the charcoal and then burns back up, creates smoke that cooks the meat. It is so good. But would I say it's a Wagyu of pork? I don't know. That being said, I do think this is gonna make a fantastic grilled cheese sandwich. I definitely wanna incorporate all these things that I just used in that delicious bite that I made. And I'm very confident that if we add some bread and cheese to this, it's gonna be incredible because this is truly one of my favorite foods that I've had on this trip so far. It's smoky, fatty, spicy, savory, herby. You get it all. A lot of flavors. They work fantastic. We're gonna do something with this one. I can feel it.
It's now time for the moment you've all been waiting for because we are transforming this Jeju black pork Korean barbecue meal into a grilled cheese sandwich. I purchased some black pork belly and seared it in a pan, and my belly pieces had some cartilage or bone in it or something, so I cut those out and cooked those in the pan too to render out more fat. While that cooked, I made a sandwich sauce using some samjang, which is the fermented soybean chili paste that I mentioned earlier, and I also added some fish sauce and mayo. Then for our other toppings, I sliced some thin pieces of raw garlic. I found that vegetable thing that I liked at the store, so I got some of that, and of course we have to add some kimchi. Then I laid out some perilla leaves in an artsy little pattern and began assembling our sandwich. First, I spread the sauce onto the inside of the bread, then added some Gouda and cheddar, then 2 perilla leaves, the pickled leaf things, kimchi, raw garlic, and the pork belly, which I sliced up with scissors because that's how the barbecue restaurants do it. After a quick toast, our sandwich was ready. The cheese pull was pretty weak, but I think that's because both the cheeses I used were aged and only like 5% of the sandwich was actually cheese since there were so many other ingredients.
This is a Jeju black pork Korean barbecue grilled cheese sandwich. That's a mouthful, and so is this. Oh, there's a lot going on. Wow, every chew, you get like a different piece. It's like pork, and then you taste the pickled vegetables. The kimchi, I don't taste as much of. I think I probably could have put a little bit more on. I do think it could use a bit more spice. The cheese you definitely taste. I think it probably would be better with a milder cheese. On that bite, I definitely got a big piece of kimchi. It's still really crunchy. The pork is fantastic. The pickled vegetables are a little sweet too. This has pretty much all of the flavors in it, but I do feel like it feels a little bit distracted. It doesn't really have a clear direction. I think the flavors are kind of like not working in harmony necessarily. So I'm actually only gonna give this a 6.4, but it's still pretty good. I think if I was gonna do this again, I would stick to just the pork on the inside and maybe some spicy sauce. I think it'd be really good. You could even then eat it with some of the kimchi on the side, some of the fresh vegetables on the side. But I think when you combine them all into the sandwich, it's kind of a lot going on at once. It's not bad, but it could be better. Korean barbecue though was fantastic. Come to Korea, eat a lot of food. That's what I need to do. Do it a lot of times.